You ever scare yourself with how fast you go from fine to nuclear? No, I'm not annoyed. I'm frustrated. I mean, your body flips a switch and suddenly you're louder than you ever fucking wanted to be, harsher than you meant. And afterwards, you're standing there thinking, who the hell was that? And the worst part, sometimes it's over something so small, a spill, a back talk comment, a siblings fighting, somebody asking you to put on your shoes like 3 times. Today's episode is about the explosiveness of fatherhood and why so many good men become reactive men inside of their own homes. You know, it's not because we're weak. It's not because you're a monster, but because you're carrying pressure and your nervous system is trained for war, not for presence, man. That's what men are trained for. And I'm going to say something that might sting. If free kids learn your presence is unpredictable, they're not going to learn respect. They're going to learn the weather. They learn how to read your mood like a storm forecast. So today, we're going to take the wheel. We're going to take back the wheel and we're going to dial it in so we can actually figure out what the hell is going on with us. How could we take that, 5-10 seconds or have a couple tools to reset ourselves during the conversations to be better fathers in the long run. We don't want to keep doing the same thing and hurting our kids. We're looking to be better fathers and better men through it all. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about what's actually happening inside your body when you snap. Because I think that's probably the most valuable thing right now. Reactivity is a stress response. Most dads think that anger is just a personality trait. It's like, I'm just intense, or this is just me. I'm just passionate. I'm just an enforcer. No chance, man. It's not what it is. I promise you. A lot of explosiveness is unprocessed stress, identity threat, or too much load. And in the moment your kid challenges you, your brain reads it as I'm losing control. I'm being disrespected and I'm failing. And the body doesn't respond with logic. It responds with survival. It responds with the thing that it needs to do to keep going. The American Academy of Pediatrics describes toxic stress as prolonged activation of the stress response without enough protective support. Your body gets stuck in on. Now picture a dad with that. What kind of things are you dealing with? You got money pressures. You got lack of sleep. You got work chaos. You have your own hobbies that you want to do, but you can't. You have relationship tensions. There's constant noise and needs and no real recovery. It's not a bad dad. It's a dad with a system that's running hot. You're like a computer that's constantly overheating. You don't have a moment to sit there and reset and, I don't want to say breathe, but realistically, you don't have a second to breathe. You're stuck in this mode of just fight or flight, realistically. So your body, even when you yourself are trying to calm down and be better, you haven't tried it long enough. As in, you've done it one day, and then the next day you're like, nope, fuck it, that didn't work. So I'm gonna try something else. So you have to stay consistent with it. We can't just half-ass being better parents. That right there just ain't it, man. It ain't it. Now, let's get real. This isn't just about you. It affects the whole house. And there's data on that. Like the stakes for kids without shaming dads. Like here it is. I'm not here to guilt you. I'm here to wake you up, man. Our goal isn't to make our kids feel like shit. Our goal isn't to make our kids feel as if they're disobedient, they're bad, calling them brats, spoiled. And I know that you've said that shit. I know. And you know how I know? Because I've said the same stuff. But we all say things we're not happy. You have to apologize. Here's some statistics, all right? The CDC reports ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, are common, and they're linked to long-term health life outcomes. One CDC MMWR analysis found 63.9% of United States adults report at least one ACE, and 17.3% reported 4 or more. Now, hear me clear. I'm not saying that you yell at your kids one time and now they're doomed and they're like, shit, we're broken. It's the patterns. There's research showing that harsh verbal discipline from both mothers and fathers can predict increases in adolescent conduct problems and depressive symptoms over time. There's also evidence that exposure to parental verbal aggression is associated with higher risk for later mental health problems. So you, my friend, might have those mental problems. So if you're not the dad who says, yeah, but I got yelled at. I mean, if you are the dad who said, yeah, I got yelled at, turned out just fine. You did it, man. You might be functional, but you're not peaceful. You're not a great dad to your kids because you've lost your shit. You haven't learned how to control that. Yeah, you got yelled at. Man, I got yelled at. I got beat. And, I'd be damned to say, I'm just a perfect dad. No chance. I have problems just like everybody else. And that's one of the reasons that we do this podcast, because we as fathers can do this stuff together. We can learn as a whole and be better. Right? That's the goal. That's the ultimate goal. Our kids are number one, and we want them to grow up without the same problems that we did. And once they're adults, we get to see them and how they parent. And hopefully they're great parents because you taught them better. So why are dads so reactive? Why does fatherhood hit the nerve like nothing else? Just something hits and you just snap. There's 5 sources, I would think. There's probably more than 5 sources, but here's some 5 reasons why fatherhood makes men explosive. And you're probably carrying more than one. I'm carrying more than one. Guaranteed you are too. 1, sleep deprivation. Turns patience into myth. Patience does not exist if you're tired. When you're tired, your tolerance drops. Small things feel massive because you're already at your limit. I know when I'm tired, the hardest thing for me to do is take a second and I just want to close my eyes. I don't want to deal with my kids yelling. I don't want to deal with he said this or they did that or they hit me. Dude, my friend, that's a real one. It's incredibly difficult to handle, stress as well when you're tired. It's hard. You have identity threat. A lot of men grew up believing that if my kids don't listen instantly, I'm not respected. So this doesn't like a kid being a kid. It feels like you're being challenged as a man. And then you realize it too, because I know you do. I know sometimes you look at it and you're like, they're just being kids, man. They're not doing anything wrong. And I have those moments more and more now because I think I'm trying to pay attention to more when I'm about to lose my mind. And I'm trying to be a better father through it. It's really difficult. It's definitely not an easy thing to feel challenged by your kids when in reality they're challenging you because you're constantly challenging them. They want to see you, is dad really mad? Does dad really know what they're talking about? Is dad going to lose his shit? I hope not. I hope we're not losing our minds. But being disobeyed by your kids, it really does feel like a punch in the gut. The crazy thing is, most of the time, I don't even think they feel like they're trying to disobey you. They're not. They're communicating their emotions during that time. It's our job to take those and say, yeah, cool. How do we be the better person here? 3, you have sensory overload. Noise, touch, interruptions. If you're wired intense, the home can feel like a constant assault. It feels like you're walking into Normandy and you got bullets flying past you. You got dead bodies everywhere. And you're still supposed to remain calm. I don't think any of us would be ready for that. Me personally, I don't know, man. I'm not ready for it clearly because me as a father, I still have a hard time just controlling my shit when the TV's too loud and I have my kids talking over here and then I have shit going on in my head. Too much. It's just too much, man. It's constant assault inside your head. And then we have parental burnout. Parental burnout is a real thing. Chronically exhausted. You're emotional distancing and you're feeling ineffective. The research reviews, but prevalence around 5% overall or higher in some Western samples. Burnout dads don't need motivation. They need a recovery system. We do need a system. We need a system that takes us from point A to point B without destroying that in-between space. We need to get from, I'm about to lose my shit, to, cool, I didn't lose my shit because I remain calm. I'm still pissed off, but I'm going to take a second and I'm going to breathe, or I'm going to use some of the tools that we're going to talk about later on to help us get through this. Yeah, man, burnout, it happens in so many different ways. It doesn't just happen in you're tired or exhausted. It comes out as frustration and aggression towards your family. Don't do it. Talk to your wife, talk to your kids. And sometimes it's hard because you feel like you're the one that's supposed to have your shit together. You know, you feel like you shouldn't be going to your kids and be like, hey man, I'm just really not doing good. I got some stuff going on, and they're not your therapist. Yeah, but they're your kids and they love you. And when they see you talking about things like that, it teaches them that they can speak to you about those things. You know, think about this. Whatever we give our kids are going to be able to give back to us. If we show them comfort in certain conversations, they're going to have comfort in those conversations to us. That's pretty important. You know, you got unspoken mental health problems. Paternal depression is real. It's under discussed. You know, you have fathers that have prenatal, postpartum windows as well. And then men, it shows up as irritability, anger, shutdown, workaholism. It's not all sadness. And like, how many of you, after you had kids, were just like, oh, I'll just work like 70, 80 hours. And I know that you're probably saying to yourself, oh, well, you know, I needed to work all those hours because if I didn't, then the bills wouldn't get paid. Yeah, maybe. But did you have to work every Saturday? Was it the opportunity for you to say no? There was. But you probably didn't know how to deal with it. You probably didn't know how to deal with a baby that's crying. And your excuse is, well, I don't have a boob, so I can't feed him. Yeah, but yeah, it's your child. They need your help too. Your wife needs your help through that time. So even though you're tired and exhausted, so's your spouse. And you really do have to be aware of that. As a father, that depression is true. And I know you're irritated. I know you're angry. And we all shut down. I don't think that's new to anybody. No. Now, I want to punch a hole in the biggest lie dads tell themselves. And I wonder if you've told yourself this. And the lie is anger equals leadership. No. A lot of men confuse volume with authority. How many times did you think to yourself, you know what, if I just get louder, then my kids are going to listen. And when they listen, then that means I won. Oh, okay, well, here's the truth, man. If your kids only listen when you're scary, you're not building respect. You're building a fear-based compliance. You're building a system that is just going to work in a very short-term window, but it's going to have long-term consequences. You're going to have your kids, whenever somebody gets loud, you know, let's say they start to worry, oh shit, well, I remember what my dad used to do. He just yell at me and like, yeah, so I just be quiet. No, man. You know, if your kids disagree with something, they need to be able to speak up, and they need to be able to speak up to you. Yeah, I would say about this. My daughter is very good at speaking up to me. She's very good at calling me out on my shit, and I can't stand it. It is an incredibly difficult thing to deal with. You don't realize how hard-headed your kids are until they're telling you, you know what, you're just not nice. You shouldn't be talking to people like that. And you're yelling at me and you didn't even let me finish what I was going to say. And then you let it finish. You're like, oh, you're right. It was all I'm the one that took that problem and I fucking heated it to 1,000,000. And now we're just going back and forth. We're good. We don't need that. We don't need to be losing our mind like that. Here's what real leadership looks like. You can feel the heat. You can feel yourself warming up, man. But you can stay steady. The boat's not rocking. And then you can correct without crushing. You can take the thing that you're upset about in a moment and you can correct their behavior without being mean with your words, without being abrasive or rude or disrespectful, because when you do that, your kids learn that. And if you have kids with siblings, that is the clearest way to see what you're doing wrong, because the way that your kids talk to each other is going to be the way that you speak to them. So if you don't like the way they're speaking to each other, shit, man, you're doing something wrong. I'm doing something wrong. And that's hard. It's hard. It's easy to try to correct things because you feel good that day. It's really difficult to correct things when you got a lot of things going on around you. You got a lot of problems. Because a man who can't control his own reactions, you're not the alpha. He's the most easily controlled person in a room. It's not by anybody else. You're being controlled by stress. You're being controlled by something that you can self-regulate. You can literally work through this if you just took a second, but you're not letting it. You'd rather be this explosive bomb that just boom, and then everybody's fucked. Mass casualty event inside your own house. Not actually, but you know what I mean? Emotionally, everyone's kind of ruined for the day. Now everyone's in a bad mood. And it's all because you couldn't control your own shit. So, you got to be better. How do we fix it? Not with the fluffy advice, but with the protocol. What's something that we could do? Like the 10-second gap protocol is what I'm going to talk about now. It's what you can do when you're dealing with it. Your kids are pissed off because you're telling them, no, you have to get your shoes on. We have to go. And they're like, nope, not doing it. I don't have my shoes. I can't find my favorite shoes. And we all know if they can't find their favorite shoes, everything goes crazy. There's a tornado that goes through the house. And it's a tornado of emotions. And you got cows picked up and they're flying around and they're flying through the fucking windows. It's give them a second to help them. That's where we get a little bit tactical. We kind of think about what we need to do. So you feel that surge. You feel that your chest is fucking tight. Your jaw's clenched. You're talking fast. You can't stop. You don't need a personality change at that point, man. You need a gap. You need something that can bridge from point A to point B to bring you closer without destroying everything. So first, you're going to name the surge. You're going to name that thing. You're going to say it under your breath. I'm losing my shit. That one label turns your brain on from, God, it got to turn my brain on. It turns your brain from being super reactive to saying, I have the problem right now. And they're looking for me to fix it. They're looking for me to fix myself so I can help them. So I can communicate clearly. So what do? Well, step 2 is we drop our voice. And it's not because you're being soft. Because lowering your voice, it forces control. You ever lower your voice in a conversation and realize, holy shit, I have to remember to breathe? Well, when you're dealing with it, you seriously have to think about the words that are coming out of your mouth. And when you do that, your kids can see it. Your kids, I always say my daughter always sees it. She's like, okay, he's calming, dude. Like, what is he doing? And when that happens, she almost doesn't know what to do. It's like, what? Why is that? Why is he talking softly? You got to anchor your body. 10 seconds. That's all you got to do. Like, pick one of these. You can press your tongue to the roof of your mouth. You could exhale for an extra long time, like you're fogging some glass. You might look goofy. You feel your weight shift, move around a little bit, but do something. Say a hold line. You need one sentence that buys you time. You need one thing that you could tell yourself that says, cool, let's fix this. Pause. Try that again. Stop and reset your tone. Reset your own tone, man. I'm not talking to you like this. Take a breathe, and then we talk. We're not going to escalate it. We're trying to solve a problem. Why is it that when we feel as if our authority is threatened inside our house, we feel like we have to escalate things? We have to yell, or we have to start creating more demands, and sometimes there's shit that doesn't even amount. Go milk a cow. You don't even live on a farm. You start asking for ridiculous requests that are impossible, and then you get mad when they can't do it. You're being a dick. Fix it. We're not escalating. We're trying to solve these problems. Step 5, reduce the choices to 2. Kids don't do well with speeches and chaos. So give them 2 paths. Shoes on now or shoes on in your car. Your choice. Yes, if you tell them to get your shoes on in the car, that means that you have to throw them over your shoulder. You have to carry them. You know what? That might turn from an angry argument to a silly moment where your kids are now laughing and you're laughing because laughter gets through it all. You could calm down here or you could calm down in your room. And if they say none of them, then you say, awesome, man. I guess you just want to calm down here and I'm going to walk away. Give them that space to do it. And I don't like that. I honestly don't. I feel like for me personally, in order to get something across to me, you have to be like a battering ram. And the more and more that you hit at that door, eventually it breaks down. And I'm like, cool. All right, here's what's going on. But you don't want your kids like that. You don't want anybody using a battering ram to get through to you. Give them space. I need a minute. Awesome. Give them a minute. And sometimes that minute's hard, especially when you're in a rush. But it's a key difference between a dad who reacts and a dad who commands the moments. We're the commanders in the house. But if you already blew it, what if you already yelled? That's fine, man. Let's talk about the most masculine thing that you could do to move past that failure. That we all fail. We all mess up. The strongest thing a father can do afterwards, what do you think it is? Because some of you need to hear this, and I feel like you probably don't believe this. You're probably like, I just need to go buy a toy. No. Your kids don't need perfection. They need repair. There's research specifically looking at parental apologies and how phrasing can affect the parent-teen relationship. And the developmental science emphasizes how responsive back and forth connection to serve and return, that supports healthy development. The translation is a relationship isn't built by never messing up. It's built by what you do afterwards. And I know you've noticed that. There's clearly moments where you've messed up and you've said to yourself, I got to go apologize. And when you do apologize, things get better. Sometimes your kid decides to open up after that. Sometimes they say, wow, okay, well, dad's apologizing. He feels really bad. Not only does he feel bad, he's also putting himself on a spot and telling me what he did to mess up. So you're teaching them how to communicate. Sometimes that's kind of the biggest deal. We don't even know how to communicate ourselves, and we expect our kids to communicate properly. We don't speak to them in a respectful tone, yet we expect respect back. That's not how things work. Here's a clean repair script, word for word. And you can use this within the same day, preferably within the same hour. Calm voices, no excuses. This is all you. Hey, I need to own something. I got loud earlier. It wasn't controlled, and you didn't deserve that. You still have to follow the rules, but I'm going to enforce it like a man with self-control, not like a bomb. I'm sorry for how it came at you. We're good, and we're going to do better. Apologizing is not weakness, it's leadership. The biggest thing, though, don't turn your repair into a speech about your childhood. Don't make your kid comfort you. Just own it, reset, and then you lead. Mike, I asked my kids, I was like, do I lecture you? And they say, yeah, you kind of. Why? Because apparently I just like to lecture. I come in, and I think it's not that I like to lecture. I like to dive deeper into it, and they don't need that. Hey, I really messed up. Here's what I did wrong. Here's what I'm doing to better it. Are we good? Awesome. That fixes problem. Let's talk about what creates explosiveness in the first place. The trigger stack, the stuff that quietly piles up until your kid becomes the match. Maybe trigger's not the right word. I'm not a fan of that word. Everyone's so triggered. The trigger stack. Let's build your dad loadout. Let's Call of Duty that thing. Let's throw in an AK, an RPG, and a shotgun. Here's your stack, man. And every explosive dad has a stack. Here's the guide. Quick inventory, and I want you to answer this honestly. Your stack usually includes hunger, caffeine, no water, no alone time. You got unfinished work. You got phone overstimulation because the phone's ringing, the kids are talking. You got relationship tension. Your wife's asking you something and kids are screaming. You got clutter, noise. Noise is the biggest thing for me Clutter, I can clean it up. But if I've asked you to clean up something 10 times, now I'm getting frustrated. No, you feel unseen. You feel like you're asking your kids to do something and they're just not listening. You have no physical outlet. You're not going to the gym. You're not getting some of this frustration out. And you're trying to carry this whole plan. So here's the dad load of 5 things that lower explosions fast. Yeah, it's a 10-minute decompression transition after work. There's no questions. There's no decisions. You have a physical outlet. 3 times a week, we're going to walk. The sweat is better. So work out. It's way more effective to get your blood pumping, man. One protective reset window each week, even 30 minutes. 30 minutes is a huge. You can go to your gym, but go outside and go sprint up and down the street. Look like a jackass. But that's going to help you. When I work out and I'm done, I can easily come in with a level head. Hey, what's going on here? Yeah, let's take a chill pill. Let's bring it down. Tell me what happened, and I will help you. We will walk through this together. A house rule. We redo disrespect. Kids and adults, we teach each other what respect is. If we got disrespected, here's how we should redo that. Here's how we correct that within each other. A consequence system that you don't have to invent in anger. The worst things that you can do is try to create consequences when you're already pissed, because that's when the stuff that doesn't make sense happens. Like what? Go climb Machu Picchu. No, that's not a consequence. It doesn't make no sense. All right. Last section. I'm going to give you a 7-day challenge that will actually change the temperature in your house. Not like the thermostat, because nobody touches that shit. That is your sacred thing. Very, very sacred. 69, perfect temperature. 68, even better. Your wife, 89. So the 7-day control dad challenge. We have very clear actions. You're going to do this for 7 days where there's no overthinking it. Ready? Day 1, pick your hold line. You're going to choose a sentence and use it all week long. That's going to have you reset things. Day 2, practice the low voice correction. So even when you're right, keep your voice under control. Don't start losing your shit and start yelling and getting super excited. No, be calm. Teach how to be calm. Day 3, repair within 24 hours. If you pop off, you're going to repair cleanly. You're going to go in, you're going to apologize, you're going to own your mistake, and you're going to be far better off for it. You're going to feel better that day. And then we have day 4, 2 choice commands. Give them 2 choices. Stop long lectures. 2 pass, that's it. Put on your shoes here or put on your shoes in the car. Eat this for dinner or eat that for dinner. Or don't eat dinner. That's my favorite one. Everybody always eats dinner. Then you have day 5. 1 boundary you will always enforce. So not 10 rules, 1 rule you enforce calmly every single time. So you have something every single day that no matter what, they don't get away with. But you're going to be calm and respectful when you're talking about it. You want to enforce things in a understandable way. Day 6, the thing that gets you going, audit. You have a trigger stack audit. You're going to write your top 3 triggers. You're going to build 1 defense. So the top 3 things that piss you off, the top 3 things that happen and you're just about to break this table when it happens. Your fists clench up and you're like, again, I just said stop. Again. What are they? Pick 3, build a defense for him. And then day 7, you're going to teach the house a reset phrase. Reset, not punishment, not shame, just reset. And everyone should be able to use it. You're going through an argument and you start losing your shit and your daughter says, hey, reset phrase. I don't want to listen to you right now because we're having an argument. Doesn't matter. Because your home doesn't need a perfect dad. It needs a dad who can recover fast and lead steady. It needs a dad who, no matter what's going on, will still listen to his kids. If your wife's having an argument with you and you disagree with her, but she says the reset phrase because you're getting heated or she's getting heated and you say it, dude, everyone's got to respect it. Everyone's got to respect. That's the only way this stuff works. And if you can find that phrase that works for everybody, and I think if you follow along with it, you're going to be pleasantly surprised. It's how effective it can be. So, if this hit you, don't just nod and move on. You're going to pick one tool from today and you're going to run it for a week. And if you want to be a part of the show, send us your biggest dad triggers, the thing that flips your switch, the thing that makes you lose it all. And I'll read a few in the next episode, and we'll build real solutions, not fake motivation, because that's not what we do here. This is the Dad Compass podcast. Lead steady, repair fast, and compass on.